All right.
Yeah. Three, two, one.
Hey.
How's it going?
Hey, John. How's you doing today?
Doing well. How are you?
I'm doing well.
Huh?
It's a beautiful day here in East Texas.
It is.
Considering we had what was it, Laura? Laura moved
Laura,
through
yeah.
last couple days, and especially Louisiana. We're in East
Little
Texas,
storm.
and the storm came through. The hurricane came through, and we thought we were going to get some rain, and we got sunshine.
Yes.
Not complaining for sunshine
No.
at all.
Grateful for it, for sure.
Yes, but we do need the rain. We haven't had rain in a
Yeah.
while, so a little rain would have been nice. You know, those people in Louisiana and that whole area that got hit pretty hard. You'll pull through and recover. And anyway, we're thinking about you. It's always those tough times that you just pull on through, push on through.
Mm. That's a nice thought, John. Yeah.
Thanks. What about today's subject, John? What are we going to talk about?
What are we going to talk about today?
I guess, you know what we're going to
Yes,
talk about.
I do.
We're going to talk about getting older and aging.
Aging, yeah.
And so that's a big deal. I know that you're interested in that.
Mm-hmm.
I think everybody's interested in that because the alternative of aging would be non-aging. And if you're non-aging, that would indicate that you're in a probably not a good state of being.
Dying, yeah, you're dead.
So today we're going to talk a few thoughts about aging. To illustrate the point, I would like to tell you a little story. I use it as an analogy that takes place in a certain country. But before that,
Yes, yeah, I'd like for you to talk about your
10th grade experience.
There you go, yes.
I mentioned this earlier to John about something that really appealed to me. And I thought about it yesterday and then again today. And so because two different times that it's come to me, I think it's like a sign that I should mention this. 10th grade, world history class. Name of the teacher, my favorite teacher in high school, South Grand Prairie High School Warriors. His name was Herbert Summers. And he was talking about the Renaissance, which is a wonderful thing to study and to read about, and to art, literature, the whole Renaissance period to me is just pretty fascinating after the Dark Ages. Renaissance after the Dark Ages. Makes sense now, doesn't it? He was talking about that, and he brought up this concept, and he called it, and he'd always get this serious little look on his face, and he'd go, well, today, ladies and gentlemen, we're going to talk a few minutes about the universal man. I was like, universal man? Is he talking about Jesus? And he says there was a certain rebirthing, a certain concept in the Middle Ages about something called the universal man. And just simply put, just very quickly put, and it really appealed to me. Not that I've ever attained anything like this, but it certainly appealed to me as a goal, as a worthy goal. And the universal man, which goes all the way back to the Greeks and the Latins and the Romans, and up until, obviously in the Renaissance times.
So what is their universal man?
A universal man was a person aside from high birth. So, in the Renaissance, it was like everything before that was you got an education or were able to learn because of who you were born to, who your parents were. Or maybe, how much money they were able to pay somebody off with. But usually it was a matter of birth. So the universal man was a person. At that time, generally, it was males. Unfortunately, people were starting to grow, though, and move in a direction. And the universal man was a person that was adept, was well studied in a lot of different subjects, and could apply those subjects to specific problems and find solutions. They also trained in sports and in fighting skills, possibly horseback. So they were these people that had these opportunities kind of were looked at as, well, that's the ultimate goal, isn't it?
Sure, to be well-rounded.
To be well-rounded, be able to have a general knowledge of a lot of different things and be able to apply that knowledge. And that's always appealed to me. I've always liked that, especially more and more. You know, I'm a retired, one of the things I've done is teach in a high school, in a public high school, in a minority public high school for 24 years. And so I got to talk about some of these things. But in today's culture, I would like to emphasize to all the people that are really into technology, always be prepared to balance that out. Be in technology, fine, but balance it out with some other subjects, some book reading, some book learning, some literature, some science, arts. I mean, get into the arts as well. Creativity is the key for a lot of our folks that are really into technology.
And yeah, just like getting back into nature as well, and
absolutely
that as well.
Very, very well said. Getting back into nature. Speaking of nature,
yes,
we shall move on.
Where are we going?
To a place, a landlocked country we haven't been to yet, and this place is in South America. 2 landlocked countries in South America, Paraguay, and today's country is Bolivia. Bolivia, a very poor country. So I made my way into Bolivia recently. This is just a few years ago on this particular journey. I spent a few months in South America, just going where the wind blew me, literally, just kind of making my way.
Nice. That sounds nice. Doesn't it?
Just traveling around. Yeah, the road, lessons from the road. Went to a place in northern Bolivia called the Tora National Park. Beautiful place. I mean, just physically, geographically gorgeous and very different. One of the reasons I went there was to check out these huge dinosaur tracks.
Okay.
So just to make the story, kind of get the story going, just tell this story, is that I got up early one morning, little village, little town, and had me a breakfast of some eggs, maybe some bacon or ham, piece of bread, some butter and jam, some coffee. And then I said, I'm going to go check out, because I heard it was go down and find the riverbed, and just keep walking down this old riverbed until you come to the tracks.
Okay.
To me, that's like
simple.
Easy stuff. That's something, that's my cup of tea. So I did that, walked on down, kind of a beautiful day, kind of warm, but beautiful. Walked on down, kept on going, ran into a few other people, Europeans mostly, a couple people from Chile, and walked on down. There was about 6 of us that kind of ended up kind of as a group looking for the tracks, and we came upon these giant dinosaur tracks. I don't know if we'll put the picture up behind us of that one, or maybe something else that had come along with the story. And so it's like, wow. And these were huge dinosaur tracks right there in the mud that had now it's all solid, petrified. So it's like, oh, this is cool. So I saw that, we saw that, and so I was thinking, okay, I've been out 2 or 3 or 4 hours now, 2 or 3 hours, and okay, I guess I'll go back. Well, another group came along, said, hey, we're going on down here, and we're going to go down there and go into the gorge to this beautiful waterfall. I was like, oh yeah. They go, come on. I was like, sure, I'm going to come along. So I said yes. Keep that in mind. So when
always say yes?
Yeah, I always say yes to stuff like that. Any adventure, because it's something that was like, what am I going to learn?
Sure.
What's going to happen? What kind of conversations I'm going to get in with these? They were mostly Europeans.
Okay.
Chile couple. And there was somebody else from, were there any Americans? No Americans. I was your token American. So, they were all much younger than me too. 20s and 30s. Just popping along, in shape. So we went on down, and we got to a lookout, and they go, look at the gorge. And I was like, that is an awesome gorge. You know, it's like, whoa, whoa. And they said, look, there's stairs. Go down. I was like, oh, okay. So they said, come on. So remember, I had breakfast.
Okay.
I was planning to go back. So we took it off, and I was like, okay, yeah. I had a water bottle, and I was very ginger. I think I got another one back up from a little thing up at the dinosaur tracks. So I had another little water bottle. So we took on down these stairs towards the gorge. Got down. Anyway, here's what happened. Suddenly, there were no more stairs. Suddenly, there was steep trails.
Okay.
That you had to hold onto branches sometimes. And you had to kind of be careful how you went down. And so we started to go down and down. I go, ooh, this is steep. Just kept on, okay, fine. You know me. I mean, I got stories back from mountain things. Kept on going down, kept on going down, kept on going down, kept on going down. I was like, wore me out. Finally got to the bottom of the gorge. I thought, that was a long way, much longer than I even imagined. Walked along the riverbed, like a stream, like a big stream, rushing water, a lot of water, big boulders, we call over that, kind of really nice. Got down to this gorgeous waterfall. And I was like, you know, like, whoa. It's about 3 in the afternoon, maybe 3:30. We spent an hour there. I spent the whole hour just kind of lying back and just finishing that water, almost finishing that water. I think there was a girl from some country, and she had some nuts, and so she gave me she goes, hey, I said, oh, she goes, I'm hungry, yeah. She goes, so I got me a nice handful of nuts. So I had those, I was like, oh, those are good. Then it was time to go. Okay, it was getting darker down where we were, especially because the sun, you know, you could see it up, you could see where the sun light was up on the gorge, you know, rising. And so we started back up. Same way we came down. You know, going up steep inclines, I have heard, is a lot tougher than going down steep inclines. You know, as far as energy.
It is.
So I kept up pretty well. We kind of got going. Oh, this is taking a long time. I felt myself having to stop and rest a little bit. A little tired. Unfortunately, starting to get a little dehydrated. But still okay. And they, you know, would go on and come to a clear space, and I'd have to rest. And pretty soon I thought, are we even halfway back up?
Oh, yeah.
And they kind of moved on. And every once in a while, one of them would come back and go, hey, John, you okay? You know? And I was like, okay. So they turn around and go on. And so kind of went on. And it got to the point where my legs began to quiver.
Okay.
I don't know if you've ever had that maybe in a workout, but this is different from that.
Yeah.
And so I was like, whew, okay. So I'd stop and have to rest. And I would only go maybe 3 or 4 more minutes slowly, have to rest for 5 minutes or 10 minutes. So it happened about 4 or 5 times where somebody came back. It steadily got darker. And I got maybe 2/3 of the way up, and what turned out to be the last person, the last European, you know, the youngster came back and they go, hello, you know, that kind of thing. I went, hi, yeah, and they go, you okay? And I'm like, I'm not going to say no. I'm like, I went, okay.
You
they
okay,
went, they probably turned around and went, dumb American. You know how those Europeans think about us, unfortunately, and wrongly.
Not all.
Most. Not all. There's some great Europeans too. Yeah. Yeah. So anyway. So I kept going slowly. It got dark. It got to be maybe 9 o'clock.
Oh wow, that late, huh?
Yeah. Oh yeah, it was dark. And I'd go a little ways. Finally made it back to the stairs.
Okay, good.
But there are a lot of stairs. So I'd come up and I'd sit and my legs were really quivering. I was hungry, very thirsty. Kind of that was a problem. And so and just my stamina was not there.
So in this time, the group has already
Well,
gone.
let's put it this way. You know those old movies where those old westerns where some people end up out in the desert
Yes.
and they're trying to make their way through, and then they start to walk slower and slower, and they're kind of getting there. And they're walking slower, and their water's gone. And finally, there's that one guy. It's never a chick. There's that one guy. I didn't mean to be disrespectful in that. That was supposed to be a joke, but whatever. So there's this one guy. No apologies for that. That was just a joke. That finally just sits down in the sand, and he goes, "Y'all just go on. Just leave me. Leave me. It's okay." And they're going, "Oh, no. We'll find some way out of this. No, we're not going to leave you here all year long." And they don't leave him.
Sure.
Maybe somebody goes and comes back for him. But, they just don't leave him. Like, okay, dude. Well, it's like that movie, only with a different ending. It's like, finally, the Europeans probably got to the top and went, I guess he'll make it. We don't know. Hey, time for dinner. It's late. So they're out of there.
Wine and dinner.
They're out there whining and dining. And I'm left behind. I'm out in the desert going, just leave me behind.
So,
thinking that they're going to be nice and not leave me behind. And they're like, "Oh, you want us to leave you behind? Sure enough, dude. Have a great life. We'll see you."
So this is about 9, 10 o'clock at night.
Yep.
Okay, so what happens next?
What happens next? Well, I hear a motorcycle
Okay.
up. So I go out. There's about a half a moon, maybe not quite 3/4. Open sky, not cloudy. So I go up, and there's a space. So I'm up there. I hear it right up there. It's kind of slow. So I get over on the side and I hear it going up there, and it kind of stops. And I go, "Hey, hey," like this from quiet for a while. I go, okay. So I start to kind of walk. I finally get up and say, "What am I going to do when I get up top?" Because it's like 6-7 kilometers to the town. So this little dirt road on top. So I start to walk up, and suddenly there's this person walking toward me. And it's a Bolivian guy that was on the motorcycle. He must have seen me or heard me, or maybe saw a sign from heaven. And he comes along, and he stops, and I go, "Hello." He goes, "Hello." And I said, "Can't do it." I said, No, I can't do it." And he goes, "Oh." And he was about 45 years old, I would say. That's some gray in his hair. And he goes, "Come on." So the whole rest of the way, he had his arm around me. I had my arm around him, and we walk. And then I have to, even with the help, I had to rest every once in a while because my legs were like butter. They're going like this. So finally got to the top, rode the motorcycle in town, pulled out a 20 and a 10. A lot of money for and he was like, and I said, gave him $30 American, and he was like, wow, he was really impressed. And I thanked him. I said, "God bless you, thank you." And he went on, and I made it back to my room. Got some water, and I don't even know what I got if I even ate. I think I ate something. Made it back.
I'm glad you survived that.
Yeah, I survived that.
No deal.
I used to survive stuff like that all the time. What's today's subject?
Aging.
Now, that story illustrated to me just recently, in the last few years, something about physical aging that I'd never experienced. I knew I was getting older, and I'd slowed down some ways. I couldn't quite do all the stuff I used to do, obviously, as a younger man, And now I was at the point where that hit me like a ton of bricks after the fact, is that I couldn't keep up. I couldn't do it. And sure, you say, well, if you would have had water and you would have had a bag of nuts or something, yeah, I would have done better. I don't know about the legs though.
Mm.
I don't know the physics of that,
Sure.
or about the physicality of that. So, I want to make an analogy about physical aging
Mm-hmm.
that we're also aware of. We're also aware of our physical aging process and how that affects us, and it weakens us. We can't do the things we used to do. We don't have the coordination we used to do. Even now, I even get a sense sometimes where my memory, something goes bam, bam. What about that song? What about that rock and roll song? What about that? Or what about this and this and this? And I used to be able to just to, like you, or like you still can, and like others, and I used to be able to just recall everything. Now, there are times where I'm just like, and I know it, and it just won't come to me that like it used to. So there are the times where your memory starts and you notice that. So you go, oh, my memory. And that could be depressing. Would you think you find that depressing? It is. It's a little something you have to adjust to. So, you just kind of like, okay, kind of laugh about it. Sure. Like some of you laugh about it. What to do about that? Well, take care of yourself.
Mm-hmm.
Try to keep in good health.
Stay
Aging.
active and eat well and all that.
Yeah, there's that. And that's what we're most familiar with.
Mm-hmm.
And I really don't want to spend a lot of time on that because that's the obvious conclusion. That's the obvious reasonable way to look at aging is that you get older, you get weaker, your body starts to give out more, and obviously you're getting closer to that time when you pass through.
Sure.
Pass on.
There's also a gift with aging.
Yeah. What now your background is Asian.
Mm-hmm. I grew up in the Philippines.
In the
yes,
Philippines.
Born and raised, yeah.
What about your impression when you were growing up with how you were taught, your family tradition, what the general culture is
Sure.
like? Just whatever comes to your mind. Quick little thoughts on
Well,
that, maybe.
Growing up in the East, the elders were very much respected and revered almost. Getting older was something to look forward to. And it's a little different here from my observation in the West, how the older generation gets to put in nursing homes and
Many of them do.
the analogy I used earlier was, put out the pasture until.
Put out the pasture.
It's sad to say.
Do you think there's a growing non-acknowledgement of older people? In other words, do you think the younger generations are now not showing as much respect as they used to, or do you think it's kind of been like that for a while now in America?
In America, I see progression to where it's more and more older generations can just put off.
Let somebody else deal with it because
It's
everybody's
a
so much
big
busier.
business, nursing homes these days.
They are.
Yeah.
It's a big business, and I was so unfortunate what happened with a lot of the people dying during a lot of the older people during this COVID crisis have died, and a lot of them being the majority of deaths has been older people because of the weaker immune system. Yeah, and certainly there's some politicians that could have taken care of some people a lot better, particularly in New York, New Jersey, but that's just something aside from this right now. So I'm wondering about that. Myself, and I, we wonder about that. We have conversations about
nice.
that.
Yeah. That's a good meeting.
Yeah, we come to terms with that. Most usually in agreement. Yeah, if one disagrees, we just kick him out, and it's usually me. I was thinking about the aspect of the analogy about in Bolivia is my physical weaknesses were right before me. I just could not do what I used to do.
Mm-hmm.
And it weakened me, and I was left behind. So, there used to be a thing in education as a school teacher. It says no child left behind.
Sure. Yeah.
In Bolivia, it's every American left behind.
That's their
And so
slogan,
that's
national
their
slogan.
national slogan. No, the people of Bolivia, it's again a very poor place. Kind of a little bit of a rough place in some ways, but another story. What I'd like to kind of culminate this with is some thoughts about not so much emphasizing the outer deterioration of our physical being, nerves and cells and the mind to some degree. If you stay alive long enough, you're going to get it's going to be harder and harder to do things, obviously. So the idea is that we're not going to be around forever. But are we? For I want to emphasize that there's an inner person.
Mm-hmm.
So as we grow older, the inner person is getting older,
Mm-hmm.
but it's not dying.
It's getting wiser.
Getting wiser. Even the inner person gets more in tune
Yes.
with more joyful
Mm.
and happier reflections about the future.
More self-aware and grateful.
More self-aware and grateful. I made a note here. I'm going to look at it and make sure I said this, and I want to make sure I just. The thought that came to me was the joyful truth of aging. The joyful truth of aging. Now, you can say that I sat down and just wrote this out because it sounds good. No, this is upon reflection
Okay.
of my own life. Okay, so I've reflected upon aging a lot, especially in these last say 7 or 8 years of me being on the road for these last 7 or 8 years. Not when I was younger and doing things in the summer when I was teaching school.
Please share your lessons, personal lessons with us.
When you're older, like I am, and that's not tongue in cheek. I do smile when I wake up. I just want to be real clear on this. I do smile when I wake up. When I wake up in the night, I catch myself smiling sometimes as I fall back to sleep. And it's not because of anything that I'm weird or that I don't live in reality, that I've got some problems maybe with dementia or anything like that. That's not at all going on. Isn't that right, Harold? John. His name's John, by the way. So I'm still a willing participant in getting older. And I like it. Here's why. My conversations are richer. Seemingly, to me, they're very rich. I enjoy conversations so much more. And I don't have to, you hear me talking a lot here, but it's not like when I'm out and just in conversations that I feel any need to control or dominate the conversation. I'm just a participant along with whomever else we're having conversations with. We're listening to music or whatever we're doing. So it's not about anything like that. It's just that I enjoy the conversation so much more. And why is that? What would be a kind of a reasonable explanation of why an older person, and I'm not talking about loneliness, although that's a big deal, of why people that are older really need to be embraced and loved and just have conversations with. Yeah. Again, that's a different aspect.
People do die from loneliness.
Yeah. It's a sad thing. But this is not what I'm going to emphasize today, even though that's very serious.
But I think, if I may just interject,
yes.
What you're saying about just having more in-depth conversations and enjoying just simple, even mundane conversation. It's just from my observation and thought, it's maybe, getting close to mortality. With life and death and.
Would that? You think that embracing one's embracing your own mortality and becoming at peace with it, do you think that presents such a comfortability with self
Yeah.
that it's like, yeah, can I talk about death? Can I talk about going on? Oh, absolutely. Now, I know I've had a lot of close calls with death in my younger years, especially. Well, in my middle years too. But that's a good point to bring up. How about gain and loss?
Okay.
We've known gain and you've known it already. But as you get older, you begin to really filter that, and it's like and loss. If you're older, that means you've had loss.
Sure.
And so we can all say that, all of us, especially those that are, say, 40, 50, 60 on up. Especially you get into the 50s, and now I'm into the middle 60s. You really understand loss from a whole different perspective. You understand loyalty and betrayal. You not only understand it, you felt it, whether you participated one way or the other.
Sure.
Forgiveness, self-forgiveness becomes very much like it's okay.
Yeah, it's a breath.
It's a breath. You can forgive yourself because from my life and personal experiences and my things that I've chosen in my life that some of them can't even go into. I've been forgiven by the one and only. Have you not? He's right there to forgive.
I think we all have. And
Yes.
One of the practices that I'm practicing right now is just learning to forgive myself, and more often.
Yeah.
And just being
If I forgive you,
yes, should
should you be able to forgive yourself? Say that you came up and just like smacked me in the head.
I would never do that.
I know you never
Yeah.
do that. And you did. And I was like, whoa. And you go, I felt like doing that. But I eventually, maybe took me a week, 2 weeks, and you said, hey, I said, yeah, I forgive you. Should you be able to forgive yourself? In that totally weak, terrible example that I gave.
Should be able to.
If someone has forgiven us, and then even at the human level especially, then we should take that into consideration, how we treat them.
I think it's this one of the struggles of being human, as us being fallible human beings, learning to forgive ourselves, because we become our own, not only victims, but we become our own judges. We judge ourselves, and
the victim becomes the judge becomes the victim, and judgment wins out.
Yeah.
Reminds me of someone said, a very important person to us said, mercy triumphs over judgment. It's a quote. Mercy triumphs over judgment. So no matter how much you struggle with that, or we all do, I have, you have, mercy triumphs over judgment. There's a story that comes to mind that maybe we'll do next week.
Yeah.
It just reminds me of that. Maybe, we'll see. I want to kind of finish off with maybe just kind of read the rest of the list.
Yeah, please do.
Mortality is not as powerful as it used to be. The fear of dying is not there. I don't particularly have that. It's going to be unusual when I die, but at the same time, it's life to life. The inner person, the inner man, the inner woman, the inner person, the inner child, it doesn't die like the body does. It, as promised, goes on.
Yeah.
With your personality. It's not like you don't know who you are, like,
Sure.
And
Just another adventure.
when my mother passed on with her dementia, when she passed on, her soul spirit went on to that beautiful promised place. It wasn't like she had that dementia anymore.
Mm.
It was purity. Pure thought. And a good time, and the band was waiting to play, as she would say. We are free to look forward instead of living in our memories. I don't live in memories, even though there's a lot of memories that we talk about here. I don't live in them. I just look forward. And I'm grateful that I'm here to be able to even talk about these stories and talk with John and to do this.
And to share this, with our friends.
Yeah, absolutely. Do I have one more? There was one more that I wanted to get to.
One more.
Oh, it's one more. Our wounds no longer control us as they have in the past.
Mm.
Our wounds no longer control us as they have in the past. Embracing our wounds now gift us. My wounds are mine.
Mm.
They're mine now. Those pains and hurts and some
we
deep
talked
things.
We talked about it, before. Our wounds or perceived traumas become our strengths. And
Yes, they do. Gives us understanding, grace, humor, and compassion. So the wounds are mine, and then I think of all the stuff in my past, and now I smile. I'll wake up and smile in the night and just think, I wonder how that person's doing. I wonder how this person's doing. And I have a prayer. Because we're all going home. We're all going home. The whole thing about aging is we're all going home. Without a doubt. You can bank on it. Because the promise has been given. And the promise keeper cannot lie. So.
And we shared this earlier with you. One of my favorite people, Ram Dass, said, we're all just walking each other home. And,
amen. I like
it
that.
Resonates with me.
Is that the quote?
Mm-hmm.
We're all just walking
each other
home. It's a beautiful thought. I like that too. And Ram Dass.
Ram Dass.
And you said he was a hippie?
Did
you
much
say he
more
was a
than
hippie?
Yes, I did, but much more than that. We'll talk about that some other time.
Didn't mean to put you on the spot with your Uncle Ram Dass. Yeah, whatever. Listen.
Anyway, yeah.
Listen, everybody. Age well. Like a fine wine and a fine cheese. Eat all you can. Enjoy the relaxation of a nice wine as you get older. Your life is like that nice wine. Just enjoy who you are, where you are. If there's pain, it's going to go away forever. Hang in there. Those of you that are younger, love those that are older. They might have something to say once in a while. So listen carefully. See y'all around. Maybe when I'm 67. She'll be here. Love you guys. Adios.